You've heard it, right? It's everywhere. On the news, all over social media. Maybe you even heard it from your own boss. Nobody wants to work anymore. It feels like the phrase of the moment. But what if that whole idea is built on the wrong question? Let's get into it.
And see, this feels so current, doesn't it? A very 2022 complaint for a very 2022 workforce. You hear stuff like this from celebrities, from CEOs, from the small business owner down the street who's trying to hire. It just seems to fit perfectly with everything that's happened since 2020. But there's a pretty big twist here.
Yeah, you saw that right. 1894. So this isn't some new post-pandemic frustration. It's actually a historical echo. This feeling that nobody wants to work has been popping up for well over 100 years. And realizing that, well, that kind of changes the entire conversation.
So, okay, if people have been saying the exact same thing for generations, it's pretty clear this isn't about a sudden collective case of laziness. What we're actually looking at is a recurring tension, a push and pull between workers and the very nature of work itself.
What's so wild about this timeline is the pattern you start to see. Just look at when these complaints really spike. Right after the Industrial Revolution kicks into high gear, after World War II, during that rough recession in the early 80s, and, well, now, right after a global pandemic. These aren't random. Each one is a signal flare that a big shift is happening in the relationship between employers and employees.
So instead of asking why people don't want to work, maybe the better question is, what's stopping them? Because it turns out there are some huge real-world barriers that are literally keeping people out of the workforce, whether they want to be there or not.
And the first big barrier? It's just simple math. We have a massive wave of the most experienced workers who are aging out of the workforce. And we're not talking about a little trickle of retirements here. No, this is a flood. To really get a sense of the scale here, just look at this number. In Oklahoma, a full quarter of the entire state workforce could retire in the next 5 years. That's huge. And experts call it a continuous surge. It's not a one-off thing. It's a steady drain of knowledge and experience, and it's happening all over the country. Now for the second barrier. It's a crisis that millions of families are dealing with every single day: childcare. The cost is just staggering, and it's often impossible to find. For so many parents out there, going to work can literally cost more money than they make. The math just doesn't add up. I mean, let that number sink in for a second. $6.9 billion. That's the economic hit from lost productivity and employee turnover in just one state, Washington, in 1 year. This proves it's not just a personal problem for parents. It is a massive economic problem for all of us. And here's why it is such a beast of a problem to solve. A third of parents say it's too expensive. About a quarter say they can't find care that's high quality enough, and another quarter say there's literally nothing available near them. It's a constant battle on 3 different fronts. And this is the bottom line, right here. Almost 40%, we're talking nearly 2 out of every 5 working parents in this study had to quit their job or were let go because they couldn't find childcare. Think about that. They didn't not want to work. They were forced out of the workforce by a system that just wasn't working for them. Okay. But it's not just about those external barriers. Something else is going on. The pandemic gave everyone this collective moment to just pause. And in that pause, millions of people started to seriously rethink what they want from a job and from life. So they're not all being pushed out. A whole lot of them are choosing to walk away. And this research tells us exactly why. Look at the top reasons people quit. Yes, low pay is tied for first, but look what it's tied with. No opportunities for advancement. And right behind that is feeling disrespected. This is about dignity and growth. People are basically saying, I'm just not going to tolerate a job that doesn't value me as a person anymore.
And for all the people who can't or don't want to actually leave their jobs, we have this new term, quiet quitting. Now, this isn't about being lazy. It's a conscious choice. It's deciding to stop giving 110% to a job that gives nothing extra back. It's about setting boundaries and doing exactly what you're paid for and nothing more. This Gallup poll is just wow. It puts it all into perspective. That huge slice in the middle, 59% of the entire global workforce, is quiet quitting. They're showing up, but their hearts and minds aren't in it. So disengagement isn't the exception anymore. It's the norm. The employee who is truly fired up and engaged, they're now in the minority. So when you put it all together, the long history of this complaint, the massive real-world barriers, and this huge cultural reevaluation of what a job should be, you start to realize we've been asking the completely wrong question this whole time.
And this right here is the heart of the matter. The issue isn't work itself. The issue is the conditions of work. It's a rejection of jobs with low pay, no respect, and zero flexibility. It's a rejection of a system that too often seems to put profits way ahead of people. It's not about not wanting to work, it's about not wanting to work like this.
This quote from the anti-work community online really nails it. It clarifies that this whole movement isn't a critique of effort. People want to contribute, they want to be productive and build things, but they're asking a fundamental question. Is the traditional 9-to-5 as we know it really the best or the only way to do that?
And that really leaves us all with one big final question. If the old ways of working aren't cutting it for the majority of the workforce anymore, who gets to decide what comes next? This isn't just a question for CEOs in a boardroom. It's a conversation for every single one of us as we try to figure out what we want the future of work to actually look like.